The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
12:15 p.m. Eastern on the goddamn screws. Monday, November 15th, 2021. It's episode 325, 3.25, Ken Flo, the Anik and Florian podcast. I made the mistake, I guess mistake's a good word for it, of saying goddamn 8 minutes into a UFC telecast on ESPN Plus a few weeks ago, regrettably. You know, I talked to my bosses about it a little bit. And I said it right off the top of the show here. What are you going to do? I got good energy today. Ken Flo's back from the mountains. He's alive. So that's good. Good to see you, kid.
How you doing, man? What's going on?
Nothing. I'm looking at your PFL hat, you know?
Yeah,
I want one of those. Feels like adultery, though. But you went to the mountains, as I understand it. Cody tells me you went to the mountains. So.
I did. I went to Blue Ridge Mountains up in Georgia. It was awesome. I got a little bit of that chill, that fall weather.
Yeah.
Hopped in a river that was cold as fuck.
Yeah.
That was fun. Everyone was looking at me like I'm a crazy person. There were people fly fishing. They're like, he's not getting in there, is he? Yeah. Oh, he's getting in. Oh, wow. What a weirdo. So that was cool. But anyway.
Well, anyone who follows you on social media knows you've done the whole ice bath thing. So river was probably just fine. You posted something in your Instagram story at Kenny Florian. If you're not following, I don't understand why. Gas prices in Charlotte. Was that a joke or something?
That wasn't in Charlotte. So someone sent that to me. That was the price of gas in Big Sur, California. It was, and I've been through there. Beautiful part of the country, by the way. But like $8.50 for gas, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's getting more expensive here in Charlotte, but it's not even close. Like that's twice the price of what it is in Charlotte, pretty much. But just crazy, dude. I'm all about this inflation lately. I'm very upset about it.
I remember when gas was 97 cents in Natick, Massachusetts,
dude,
and now it's almost $5 a gallon. What are you gonna do?
Crazy.
Did you watch Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez? I mean, are you kidding me with this sport? I mean, I don't like. When you pay for a pay-per-view and you get action like we saw this weekend, it's like, all right, well, at least I paid for the pay-per-view. It's like, I feel guilty. Like, what am I supposed to do to these athletes, right? 3 straight weeks, the UFC has just been on fire. And as a fan, I'm indebted, right? And and I make money off of these athletes as a UFC commentator. Like, I don't know what to do to pay my proper respects after a fight like this. Certainly in the fight of the year conversation. And as Dana White sort of alluded to at the post-fight press conference, I think the stock of both guys goes up.
Brilliant matchmaking here, and I couldn't agree more. I think that there were a lot of questions about Yair Rodriguez. You know, is he a guy who just has a bunch of cool moves, and you kind of have to watch out for his tricks? And if he catches you in one of those tricks, then he wins. If he doesn't, then he doesn't have a lot of substance to back it up. That is not the case from what I saw against someone like Max Holloway. Again, you know, when you fight someone like a Max Holloway, you better be prepared. And if you don't have good fundamentals, you will absolutely be exposed. And for Yair, he was making a couple mistakes here on the ground, but more than anything else, he proved himself to be world-class in a guy that you do not want to mess with if you don't have a deep game. If you don't have a layered game, you're going to be in trouble against someone like Yair Rodriguez. And I thought that in defeat, he looked phenomenal, and absolutely his stock was raised. In losing to Max Holloway, it was 5 rounds of just tremendous mixed martial arts. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Back and forth. Holloway, again, proves to be one of the most consistent performers in the UFC, win or lose. He's an absolute beast. And the UFC is just lucky to have him.
Yair Rodriguez is an incredible case, right? Injuries obviously have been part of the narrative. I'm glad you used the term world class because he could go be a champion somewhere else for sure. And I think in a different UFC era, you know, I watch Yair Rodriguez and I feel like on any given Saturday night, I'm looking at a world champion. And of course, Volkanovski is the champion. Looks like there's going to be a trilogy against Max Holloway, who for me, Max is still the greatest featherweight in UFC history. I think it's a 3-man race. I mean, nobody really cares who has that distinction, I guess, except me right now. But with Aldo and Holloway and with Volkanovski creeping, it's an incredible division. But Yair in defeat really makes a case here as an elite featherweight. And I'd like to see him fight Jose Aldo. Actually, I know Aldo has Rob Font coming up and is in a different division right now. Go ahead.
I was going to say, every time I see Yair fight, I know he's fast, but the thing that stands out every single time I watch him fight, I go, oh shit, he's really fast. He is very explosive. It's something that really surprises his opponents as well. I don't think Holloway was ready for that pacing early on. And we talked about that, of how dangerous Yair is early on with his kicks, his punches. He looked very sharp throughout the fight. And again, his speed is something to behold, man.
You talked about the matchmaking. They put this fight together at least twice, and I'm glad it was preserved. And you heard Max Holloway say after the fact, like, you want to beat a guy like Yair Rodriguez, who is widely avoided. And you can understand why Rodriguez is widely avoided, right? He'll put you on the wrong end of a highlight in a minute, and certainly Yair got off to a great start tonight. He's must-see TV. Max is a future Hall of Famer. I thought it was pretty cool, the dynamic in the Yair Rodriguez corner after round 4. It's like, all right, we need a finish, game plans out the window, go unorthodox. Yeah. I mean, that's the messaging that I think needed to be there. So possibilities are endless for Rodriguez when healthy, but for Max Holloway, I think it's pretty clear right now that it's going to be the trilogy fight with Alexander Volkanovski. And, we talk about emotions being on fights, and I feel like the Gilbert Burns fight was a harder navigation for Kamaru Usman than the Colby Covington series, right? Because there was a different emotion on that fight. And I think because this is the third meeting, because of the nature of the second meeting, there are going to be some different emotions on this Volkanovski fight for Max Holloway. You can't go 0-3 against this guy. You just can't do it, even if the world thinks you're 1-1 on paper. So what are your thoughts on the calendar seemingly aligning now for Volkanovski, Holloway 3?
This is what you want if you're Max Holloway, but at the same time, and now you don't want this mentality to creep in, but right, we'd be foolish not to talk about the fact that if he loses this one, that he's not going to get a shot in the near future, right, with Volkanovski as champ. It's just not going to happen. So then Holloway needs to do something in regards to, refreshing his career. Does he go up to 155 pounds? Does he now seek the super fights? Because he absolutely can get them. I mean, there's the Conor McGregor fight looming and all the other stuff. So he's not in a horrible spot. But as far as being a champion again at 145 pounds, it is absolutely do or die. And yes, I thought he won that rematch against Volkanovski, but 0-3 is 0-3, right? So not something he wants to be in there with, against Volkanovski. But Volkanovski also is a guy who continually learns from his fights, gets better all the time. I think we would have another banger of a championship fight there, and really curious to see how it goes down and when it goes down.
Yeah, I think both guys would be so motivated for finality, try to have it not be a close fight. And again, both guys, not that they're developing fighters at this stage of their careers, but both are getting better with every fight. I mean, look at the way Max Holloway has responded to that second Volkanovski meeting, right? The signature win, the historically great win over Calvin Kattar, and then following it up, beating a dangerous guy like Yair Rodriguez, all the respect in the world. Like, I don't even know what to say to these athletes, honestly, like, what am I supposed to say to these athletes next time I see them? Can I have your autograph? Thank you. Here's a C note, I don't even know.
And good luck picking fight of the year, man. I mean, again, this division at 145 pounds, has a few of them, with Holloway and Volkanovski and Ortega and all. I mean, this division has established itself as the number 1 or number 2 division in the UFC, in my opinion. I think they're just loaded with killers. Yeah. And what a fight we had on Saturday night yet again.
I'll probably go Chandler Gaethje. So when you're picking your fight of the year, as everybody knows who listens to the annual AFPA awards, we can't pick the same fight. So I'm probably going to have my pay-per-view bias.
You got to tease him more, John. You can't just.
I know. What am I
doing? Give him that
I'm
info.
just trying to help Cody chase sound down early.
All right.
So, well, congratulations to Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez. Back-to-back weekends, it feels like potential Hall of Fame UFC fights. And all of that coming on the heels of UFC 267 and Glover Teixeira winning a world title and Petr Yan doing what he did and one Khamzat Chimaev. What are they doing with Khamzat, by the way? Hey, listenership, 888-627-1343. List of lines open. What are your thoughts on Khamzat Chimaev? Why not talk about Khamzat Chimaev, right? Came across his name. Seems like Gilbert Burns has an appetite for the fight. Bilal, fuck, that's going to get me forever, man. Bilal, my man, Bilal Muhammad. He's been Bilal forever, and now it's Bilal Muhammad fighting Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So it doesn't appear those guys are going to get Khamzat Chimaev. What do you think, man? I mean, is that what is going to be Gilbert Durinho Burns in a welterweight title eliminator for Khamzat?
I think that's a hell of a fight, man. That's a hell of a fight. And it's a testament to Gilbert Burns, who's like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's see what this guy is all about. Not a whole lot of people, again, as we discussed, are asking for that Khamzat Chimaev fight. And what an opportunity for Chimaev. If he goes out there and beats a guy like Gilbert Burns, especially if he's able to do it on the ground, then then it is absolutely clear that we have something special in this kid. So I don't know. I love the fight. I'm a little intrigued by the Nate Diaz fight, but I don't think that's the right fight for Nate, if I'm being honest. I'd prefer to see Nate in there with someone else. I know that was a fight that Dana was curious and kind of asking for, or maybe teasing about. But I think the Gilbert Burns and Chimaev fight is the way to go.
How many head coaches think that the Chimaev fight is the best one for them, right? Because the upside is obvious, right? Like when I see fans come out and say, why is Gilbert Burns going to give the number 9 or 10 guy in the world the fight? Because Gilbert Burns is number 2 in the world. Do I really have to do this again and answer that question? Why Gilbert Burns would give Khamzat the fight? Because it's as big a fight in the division as there is outside of a championship, because Khamzat is all the rage. Am I wrong? Is that promotional hyperbole? Am I going to get in trouble again? Thankfully we have guys like Bilal and Vicente Luque and Gilbert Burns that all would take the Khamzat Chimaev fight, right. But if you're on a championship trajectory, like if you're Vicente Luque, do you want that fight on December 11th? Because Khamzat has made it known to the world that he wants to fight, Sure. And certainly if you're Vicente Luque, you were just tabbed as an alternate for a title fight. Granted, only had 12 days or so and resultantly missed weight. But if you're Vicente Luque, maybe you call for the Khamzat Chimaev fight and you get it. You're probably getting a championship opportunity. I don't know. Didn't intend to go that route. Let's pile on Herb Dean for a little bit instead.
Well, I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit, because I kind of feel like, with Khamzat and all the hype behind him, I think there's a lot of benefits to these guys that are coming up to go out there and go, listen, do you want to fight him now or do you want to fight him later? And when there's, so fight him now if you can. And with all that momentum, try to throw him for a loop, bring some experience that you have that maybe Khamzat hasn't seen before, and you can surprise him and whatever, take advantage of that situation, that lack of inexperience. But I don't know. I mean, again, I kind of see it like when I was fighting Roger Huerta and everyone was behind Roger Huerta, and Huerta was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated, and he was kind of the golden boy at the time. And maybe I didn't need to fight him, or I did. I don't know what our rankings were at the time, but I remember I was like, I want to fight that guy because everyone thinks he's really good and everyone's behind him. And I think I was ranked above him. And that was a fight that I felt would benefit me because he had such a huge fan base. Anytime you face someone, you have the ability to take everything that kid has, his ranking, potentially his money, his fans, all those things are an opportunity for a fighter. And you're either trying to pad your record, you're trying to play it safe, or you're going for it because you're trying to be the best in the division. So I don't know. It's a tricky approach for some people, I guess.
What was that? August 2008, Target Center, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Look at you. Look at you.
That was a win over Roger Huerta. Clean 30-27 too. I mean, total fucking domination for Team Florian. And incidentally, the first live event that I ever went to, first UFC live event that I ever went to, the first mixed martial arts event I went to, immortalized behind me there. Saturday, February 10th, DeSoto Civic Center, Tunica, Mississippi. Elite XC1, Frank Shamrock, and Henzo Gracie in the main event. But my first UFC event can flow over where to one of the easier fights to score, incidentally, in UFC history. No, and I love the fact that Bilal and these guys want this fight. Bilal publicly has come out and said it. I wonder from a betting perspective, right? Is Bilal a bigger underdog against Chimaev than Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? Bilal might be favored against Thompson, right? He's not going to be favored against Chimaev, so if you're Ali Abdelaziz and you want Bilal Muhammad on a championship trajectory, what's the easier fight on paper? Is it Khamzat Chimaev or Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? Because a manager and a head coach probably wants the easier fight, right? If they accomplish the same thing. I don't know if a win over Wonderboy accomplishes the same thing as a win over Khamzat Chimaev. And I better check myself before Mr. Muhammad shows up at my front door. I love you, man. See, I'm promoting your ass. That's all we're doing here. All right. Marcos Rogerio Peizao de Lima. Certainly anybody who has followed his UFC career is happy to see this man succeed and get a big knockout like this. And unfortunately, a lot of the shine is off of it because Herb Dean kind of went in and stopped the fight and then didn't. And as Dana White said after the fights, you can't touch guys. That's kind of the end of the fight. So you were able to watch this back. Obviously, you watched it again this morning. We congratulate Peizao on a big knockout over the king of Kenosha, Ben Rothwell. But obviously, people are talking about the end of the fight more than they are talking about the win. Your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I think that, in the grand scheme of things, if we're rating stoppages, it wasn't the worst stoppage. However, right, Rothwell was clearly hurt and going down. I would have liked to seen it play out a little bit more to see if Rothwell, a veteran, a guy who has come back from situations like that, was able to come back and fight his way back to his feet. But he was never given that opportunity because I think Herb Dean got a little too jumpy. And again, literally bear hugged Peizao from behind and tried to lift him off once. But then he kind of let go and let them fight again. So obviously he can't do that. Herb Dean, there was a point where Herb Dean, I thought, was one of the best referees in the game. I don't know if it's maybe a different mental approach that has happened, more of a lackadaisical approach where he's maybe not as in tune as he was before, or maybe he's just doing too many fights. I don't know. I don't like criticizing referees because that job is so difficult. But yeah, that's just a tough situation to be in, man. For the fighter, I feel more for the fighter who was not given that opportunity, right? Rothwell. But I don't know, man, that was yet another mistake from Herb Dean.
Well, and it's hard for us, right? Because in some part, in whatever format, we are paid to talk and be critical. And yet I would also say that I am on a shuttle to the airport with Herb Dean, right? And I consider him an acquaintance, if not a friend, right? But there are times when you need to be critical, even with the whole Dan Hardy business, Herb Dean was the one who went over to the broadcast booth, and man, did Dan get a raw deal. But at UFC 251, Leon Roberts was the referee for Petr Yan against Jose Aldo. And Leon Roberts was wildly criticized, or roundly criticized, I should say, for not stopping that fight sooner. I think it was a late stoppage in round 5 for Jose Aldo. And Leon Roberts retired after the fact. I don't know that he's even gone back to refereeing. And I think in some part because he felt like, not that he had lost a step per se, but when you start to be indecisive and indecision creeps in, then maybe you've lost your fastball and you can't be in there. I mean, you should see the criticism coming Herb Dean's way from fighters like Aljamain Sterling, right? Like, you can't come in and almost bear hug Peizao and then not stop the fight, like it's not basketball. So I don't know. I do think that this is an opportunity for him to reflect, but not a great night for a good dude.
I think that's a great point. Again, we're not dealing with tiddlywinks here. This isn't a board game. These guys are fighting hard. Their lives are on the line. Their careers are on the line. Championship fights are on the line. Their legacies are on the line. There's a lot on the damn line, and making a mistake like that could potentially have some horrible consequences for the fighters involved. So yeah, I think that takes a lot of, introspection from a guy like Leon Roberts, who's saying, do I still have it? And I think that's the kind of question you want to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Am I able to do the best job possible and keep these fighters safe and everything that goes with it?
And I was in an airport lounge after UFC 251 on Fight Island with Bruce Buffer and others trying to sort of, pump Leon Roberts up, and Dana White sort of did the same thing after the fact, because it does happen and it is an exceedingly difficult job. And I think any of us that work in this space of open ourselves up to criticism, and it comes our way and you deal with it and you apologize if necessary. And I think the hard thing, and, Longo's issue obviously is just that there's no accountability and there's no public forum and people decline comment. We did an interview with Justin Gaethje and he talked about Mike Beltran and the eye poke and what Justin and I believe was a mishandled situation by Mike Beltran, and he chose not to address it when pro by MMAfighting.com and others. And we have officials and referees who listen to this podcast, and we're very appreciative, and I think part of the reason they listen is because we do play it straight, and we try to treat everybody with respect. But there comes a time where we have to be critical, maybe we'll do referee of the year. Maybe we'll do referee rankings at the end of 2000.
Oh, I like
that. Would be fun, huh?
Let's do it.
That would be fun. Leon Roberts, incidentally, has not refereed since UFC 251 per Tapology. Hat tip to our executive producer, Cody Merrow. All right. One segment that has been part of this show since episode 1 in April of 2015 is the Ray Longo Minute. So why don't we get to Ray?
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Venom gear for RPL on a Monday.
Oh, man, where are we?
Setting yourself up, handsome.
What happened this morning?
All right. So this one's on me. I want to see if we can center your face up, if possible. All right. So are you at the gym? Gym?
Yeah, I just got to the gym.
Okay. So I apologize for my lack of communication in terms of what time you were going to be coming on the program today.
Apology accepted.
I did try to communicate to the masses that since we have added the great James Krause to the program, that we would sort of be bleeding the show back a little bit. But you thought we were 11 a.m. on the screws or something today because of my failed communication.
Of course.
And
he did it again, didn't he, Ray? He did it again.
Kenny, this is incredible to me. Incredible.
At least he's consistent.
Remember one thing. Remember the 5 Ps, John. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And you remember that? There was no preparation.
I know. I needed to consult with Cody about our Longo communication, but I think I take you for granted, whereas I go out of my way to make sure that, with James Krause, we're on the screws where I'm like, Longo will be there.
Now Krause is the big shot now.
No, not at all.
Now,
to what extent
are we catering to Krause now?
I told you that we were moving the show time back. He's on Central Time. He has pro practice until 11:30 a.m. Central. I don't know what to tell you.
Taking my fucking shirts back.
You see what I'm wearing today, by the way? This is my public apology.
Oh, shoot.
You see the screws, right? Ray Longo Minute t-shirts, AnikFlorianPodcast.com. Bunch of fucking shills. So to what extent did we inconvenience you today, right? Did you were home and then, because we did communicate about, we were trying not to wake you either, right? There's a lot of hurdles here to navigate. I'm trying to text you at 8:20 a.m. when I'm okay texting everybody else.
We're all good.
All right.
We're all good.
So, anything eventful happen in your weekend as far as mixed martial arts is concerned?
No, but I got a little surprise for you. I'm coming down to Miami this week.
How about that? For what?
I'm going to visit Tony Ricci.
You're visiting Tony Ricci, who is an outstanding strength and conditioning mind. So Tony lives in Miami now, is that right?
He's in Fort Lauderdale.
He's in Fort Lauderdale. That's even closer to me,
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yep.
If I'm popping over, I'll look your address up. I'm going to surprise you. I'm just going to show up.
That's fine. That's fine. Right. Be careful. You walk into the garage, it might smell a little funky. We got a lot of children here too. Be careful. So I have not articulated myself particularly well on the program today, but I guess my overall takeaway from Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez is a bigger picture statement because of all these amazing fights.
Yes.
I feel just like indebted to the athletes. It's like, man, to what do we owe the pleasure, right? And there's a price to be paid, obviously, for wars like this, but I feel like we got Hall of Fame fights on back-to-back weekends.
Yeah. And John, just to add to something, what a treat it is if you're one of those people at the Apex who's watching two of the best guys in the world. How about that's like being at the gym and watching two guys kill it for 5-minute rounds. I mean, what a great fight, man. I tell you, I got a text from a buddy of mine says, does Yair have any chance? And I said, no. I just text back, no, that was it. But I text back after, I go, wait, I couldn't have been more wrong. That kid really, his boxing, that was a really technical fight, man. His boxing, the way he moves was absolutely beautiful. And it really saved him with the footwork. I think a little different than Calvin Kattar, who, is more linear. This kid, he was showing some beautiful angles on the defense that were just amazing to look at. I think the sky's the limit. That guy could get you out at any point in time. Very, very tricky fight. And you got to give it up to Max Holloway for even taking that fight. I mean, the only Achilles heel looks like is still his wrestling, right? But besides that, he tightens that up and he can keep that fight standing. He's never out of that fight, ever.
Kenny, I'm reluctant to say our sport, because why is it my sport, right? But for you and Ray, it's your sport, right? But this is like the best our sport can put forth pretty much, right? And you're getting it on ESPN Plus. It's crazy to me. This feels like a featherweight world championship with all due respect to Volko, who's the fucking man, but it's just crazy to me that this fight is happening on a Saturday afternoon at the UFC Apex. I think, Ray, you know what I mean? What a special night. If you're one of those VIPs in the building for a fight like that, that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's
unbelievable to me. I'm telling you, that's one of those things that you put on every so often. Back in the day, there was always those fights. It was 500 a ticket. It was actually for the rich people, and it only going to be 200 people in attendance, and they would get good guys to fight. But that's what it kind of reminded me of. If you were in that Apex, I mean, Kenny, that's crazy, man. Two guys throwing down like that is a treat. It really was. It was fun to watch, and man, I could break that fight down forever. There was so many things going on in there, back and forth, that were crazy to me.
Yeah, the talent pool is just ridiculous, man. And again, especially at that division, 145 pounds is just ridiculous. And it just shows that the UFC has a ton of options to put on great fights and great main events, even if they're not pay-per-view. So MMA is alive and well.
It really is. The sport is on fire. I mean, if you're Yair Rodriguez, right, I guess this sort of dents the championship aspirations, at least in the immediate time here. But to Kenny's point, I just think there are a lot of big, exciting fights for this guy. Imagine if we trot this guy out every 3 or 4 months. I think the problem is his fights are so violent and take so much out of him. And more often than not, they are 5-rounders because he's earned that.
Well, he's clearly getting better in between the times that we see him. I mean, he's a completely different dude. And again, Ray, I was talking about it earlier, how good his fundamentals look, because he was always dangerous. He had a bunch of tricks up his sleeve, but it seemed like he'd throw something, then he'd kind of just throw a bunch of spinning kicks, but didn't have a jab, or then he'd have a jab, or didn't have any footwork. He's putting it all together where he really is a complete fighter. So
and he's gonna get better and better, because I think the less he relies on some of that crazy stuff, which is going to work every so often, and the more he even goes more towards the fundamentals, he gets better and better, this guy, because you're not surviving with Max Holloway's without making those moves, those shoulder rolls, and staying relaxed while the guys, hit you with volume. It's just not going to happen. And this guy stayed right there. And I'll tell you, John, to your point with the championship aspirations, there was no loser in that fight. You know what I mean? Right. And I don't think anybody would complain if you gave him, not that it's right, but I don't think anybody would complain if you gave him a title fight tomorrow.
I know. Well, of course.
Even off a loss, because that again, man, even with 3 seconds to go, what does he throw? A jump spinning back kick? That could have ended the fight right there. So I tell you the truth, wasn't super impressed going into that. I mean, I was always impressed, but not like this is a different level. He's very dangerous. He's going to be one of those guys I think people are going to just, because he's not a champion, stay away from, because that's
100. Well, Max sort of alluded to that people are avoiding Yair Rodriguez, and I would
again,
avoid him.
Hats off to Holloway. He doesn't give a shit. He wants to stay active. He believes in himself.
Yeah.
And here's a guy at 30 who's still killing it, after all these fights and how many years he's been fighting, just unbelievable stuff.
Kempfel, by the way, I wasn't rapping you. I was trying to do a motion for he's putting it all together, and it gave like a TV rap.
I was repeating myself, so I was like, here I go again.
Not at all. As if I'm some producer. See, by the way, I just demonstrably or not, like, prevented myself from saying the F word there, by the way. So people think I cuss too much on the program. Some people like it, whatever. I'm just saying, like, I just didn't say it a moment ago, and it interrupted my whole train of thought, so maybe I should just be more natural.
Well, we don't want to interrupt your train of thought, John. Let it go.
Right.
Be organic.
All right. So we were talking about Marcos Rogerio Peizao de Lima over Ben Rothwell by knockout. And we were talking about Herb Dean touching Peizao and then sort of letting the fight continue and being indecisive. And we were sort of referencing Leon Roberts, who didn't feel like he had his A game when he refereed Petr Yan and Jose Aldo at UFC 251, and he retired that night. I don't know if this speaks to a greater indecision issue with Herb Dean per se, but obviously this was a headline coming out of UFC Fight Night.
Yeah, look, I like Herb. I mean, those split second, eighth of a second decisions, it sometimes it happens and you're just stuck in the wrong place at the wrong time. It wasn't a good look, but I still think Herb's a great ref,
Yeah. Yep.
I know I'm not giving you much on that, but I know
that's
what you're
fine.
talking about.
No,
I
that's
just
fine.
think, I mean, I back in the day, I would ref a couple of like smokers and stuff, and it's not the easiest thing to do. And I never wanted to see anybody get hurt. And I would tell them before that these are fundraisers, and if I can get you out of here with your faculties, that's what's going on. And those decisions, you got to be really, really present. So
right.
I put them on. I'd look at them. Make sure that doesn't repeatedly happen, but I think he's pretty squared away and he'll be fine.
Well, and ultimately I think his defense would be like, look, man, I'm trying to do right by these fighters, and like part of the indecision is trying to give Ben Rothwell every benefit of every doubt,
and John, that guy was swinging like a lunatic. It's hard to get in there, it's not that easy.
Of course,
the guy's a big guy, and that guy was
no doubt.
You know what I mean? So you want to protect him, and then maybe he's okay. It's
right. It is, and obviously you got to be willing to take the criticism that comes with an early stoppage.
Without a doubt.
More and more with every passing day. I know it's sort of against the rules, quote unquote, but I understand why Dominic Cruz pulls a Keith Peterson aside before the fight and says, "Let me be unconscious, please." Because I got one shot and it's a title fight.
Okay, but John, that's, again, you're saying that, but then a couple of weeks ago, that kid that was getting beat up, everybody made a big deal out of because the ref let it go. So we want to see Dominic Cruz unconscious.
I'm saying signals. As a fighter, if maybe I'm being hypocritical, but I'm saying I can understand as the athlete why
Well,
you would want just say, hey man, like if you can sort of swing them at all to just let you go out on your sword, I would want, right? So maybe Rothwell got a little bit of an extra minute, and I don't know.
Yeah.
He was still pissed.
And John Marab says that all the time. He wants to die. You know what I mean? But as long as there's communications with the ref, these guys, they talk about it before the fight. Say, look, if I tell you to move and you move, I won't stop it. If I say this, I won't stay. And everybody abides by it. I think it's good.
Yeah. So speaking of good, do you think the gym timer helps the show? Is that good for the show or no?
No, I'll change my whole schedule for crap.
Well, I mean, obviously I knew I set you up to just knock me down right there.
I started throwing punches and taking breathers every time I heard a bell. I was like,
crap,
right. Chaos Williams, I just want to talk about, and then whatever you have before we let you fly. This dude, man, on any given Saturday night, I know I keep coming back to that phrase, but you talk about hand speed. I've watched the highlight a million times. I still don't see it. It was that fast.
Yeah, not only that, Ken, he was off balance and he knocked the guy out, right? He got his legs swept as he was gaining his balance. He's punching and he still knocked him out. So, power comes from the floor, right? So this guy's got extraordinary power because I don't even know if one of his feet was on the floor when he punched, but I didn't see that coming, man, at all either. You did have to look at it a couple of times. It was quick.
Yeah, he's very quick, very explosive. And like you said, it didn't seem like he had his feet underneath him like other people normally would to throw a good punch.
Yeah.
It's a gift. Every time he throws, he has the ability to knock you out. It seemed like that's the way it was going down. And it doesn't matter. That's the kind of advantage you have. Even if you have a guy who's faster than you or more skilled or more experienced, you're just when you have the ability to always be one shot or one move away from beating a dude, it's such a gift, and Chaos absolutely has it, and he did it again. Unbelievable.
Matthew Semmelsberger sitting home like, yeah, I went 15 minutes with that guy. It's like a constant navigation of some real trouble. Ray, do you, and maybe you could ask Tony Ricci about this in Miami, we'll fucking circle back next week.
I stopped the cursing.
Do you train for power, right? Like Michael Chandler talks about training for power. There's definitely a thing such as natural power. Because my best friend hasn't lifted a weight in a quarter century and he can still, throw me around and has tremendous muscle mass. But do you train specifically for power? And then I want to ask the fighter, Ken Flo. But
I'm going to say you can train, but it's going to come through body mechanics, right? So like you could be a jacked up steroided head, muscles coming out of your head. You get up and hit that baseball and you can't swing right, the ball's not leaving the infield, right? So the way I do it is I work, say I want to get the right hand go. I will go to like throwing the ball against the wall, set different things that set up that mechanics for a hard punch. And that's about the only thing you could do. And plus, being in shape, working out every day, like Chandler's an animal with the working out. So he's got natural power, I believe. But power to me really comes from mechanics, man. You could see the skinniest guy in the world, but if he can sync that body together at the right time, that shot's a bullet. It's a rocket. And, that's kind of the things I would try to work on because back in the day, right, I had a kid. He was horrible. Like, he wasn't even a fighter. He just was training. But he pitched in college. He was a baseball pitcher. I mean, the guy's right hand was unbelievable.
I can't even imagine.
You see what I'm saying? He couldn't do anything else.
Right.
But so body mechanics, man, that motion is so natural and it comes out of nowhere. It makes for power, right?
Kenny, how did you navigate all that, right? As a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who cut a lot of weight, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I think that I definitely would train to try to get stronger and be more explosive. But I'm the kind of guy that, I have a certain ceiling, right? I'm not going to have the kind of power that say Chaos Williams ever has. There's limits, I think, to everyone's power, speed, etc. Those physical things, you either have them or you have the ability to improve them or you don't. At a certain point, you run into a wall. So for me, I was in the camp with what Ray's talking about is I try to develop my mechanics the best that I could. What was the structure of my body as I was punching? How aligned were my bones as I landed that shot as I extend? How loose were my punches in between the point where I would throw them out and then let it go and then retract again. So those are all things that you have to train. But natural power is a real thing, as we witnessed with Chaos Williams. So I think it's something that you need to do both of, but it really begins and ends with mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kenny, you know this too, I'm sure. There's certain guys in the gym, like you got to check their gloves. You think there's a brick in there. Yeah. You don't even see it when they're walking around, but it's a different thump on your head, man. It's crazy. So, I'm a big believer in body mechanics for just any sport. It doesn't even matter. But behind body mechanics, you have to be conditioned the right way. And, strength obviously will go across the field in anything you do. But you don't want to be so strong where you bolt up and you can't have the mechanics. Because, Kenny, that's the complete opposite. Right. All those guys you see that are walking around like that, they can't throw a punch. It'll feel hard. but you're going to see it coming a mile away. You know what I mean? So the element of surprise with body mechanics is different. And that would be my approach. And it takes time. It's not we're going to do this for your camp for 6 weeks and you're going to, no, it's years. It's years of doing the same thing over and over again. And I think that'll be a big help or a step in the right direction.
So if this were a network show, Ken Flo, I might ask you right now, fact or fiction, will Chaos Williams ever be top 5 in the UFC's welterweight division? And I would say fact, because I think his style is such that he will get that opportunity eventually against somebody in the top 5, and he'll knock them clean out. It's a hard division, but I do believe that he has the work ethic. He has the championship mentality. And I do believe that that eventually Chaos Williams is going to be a real factor at welterweight. It's hard to sit here, right, and say that about an athlete who's maybe 25 in the world right now. But to say that I'm wicked intrigued by Chaos Williams would be an understatement.
Listen, Baeza is an excellent fighter. He's good everywhere. He's technically sound. I thought Baeza was going to get the better of him and be the smarter fighter out there. He got caught trading, man. You cannot do that against someone like Chaos. He's just way too dangerous.
And again, Kenny, I think the fact that he off-balanced him probably mentally thought he had a little bit of a break.
Exactly.
I think that's the real problem, is that he thought the guy was, getting his balance, but as he was getting his balance, I don't think he expected him to be throwing. And not throwing that hard.
Against normal people, that would have been what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the gift that Chaos Williams has. How far it'll take him, who knows? There's so many tough guys coming up now. It's bizarre.
And the gift of Ray Longo just keeps giving on the Anik and Florian podcast every Monday, even when he has a case of the Mondays like today, or so it seems. No, you don't have a case of the Mondays. You got the fucking Mondays, right?
The hell are you talking about? What the fuck is a case
Have you
of
ever
Mondays?
seen
What is
the
that?
movie Office Space?
What's the case of the Mondays? Kenny Monday? Who are we talking about?
Well, there's a lot of positivity in this world right now. I won't say any names, but there are a lot of people who are like, hey, if you don't like Monday, then, you got to look what you're doing in your life. Now, I love sitting here talking to you guys, but I wish it was Friday. I'm not afraid to admit it, because I'm off this weekend.
So
a case of the Mondays, it's like, it's like another work week, another school week. My babysitter already canceled. No shocker there. I love you, Patrice, if you're listening. But, I'd rather it be Friday is all.
Case of the Mondays. I don't know. It's like, don't get hit on the button. What fucking button are we talking? We'll pay the piper. Maybe we'll pay the piper. Who's going to pay the piper? Who the fuck is the piper?
I still don't know.
Kenny, what is going on?
I don't know anymore.
You're going to pay the piper, John. Who the fuck? Tell me who the piper is.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You're going to pay the piper.
I know. I feel like we keep sending you checks. You're the fucking piper. I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah. We used the plural again. What? Dude. And I'm changing that. Now I'm definitely seeing you when I come down.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Yeah.
You might have to pay for the sins of Cody Merrow.
That's fine. Well, hopefully your plantar fasciitis isn't kicking in, because I'm in a gated community. And if you think we're putting your name on the list, or Tony Ricci, put you on the other list, don't allow access to these New Yorkers. All right. Well, whatever you're doing today, training, I hope it goes well. And, again, apologies for any crossed signals this morning.
Yeah. No, I said apology accepted. And, I hope you do find a cure for the case of the Mondays, because
Thank
that's
you.
very vicious. It's deadly.
Yeah.
Especially when Friday's 4 or 5 days. This is bad. Try to see somebody.
It's going to be a
today.
long week. I will.
Urgent care. They have urgent care in Florida?
We do. And you don't have to wear a mask or anything. You don't even need the polio vaccine down here anymore. It's unbelievable. Get the fuck out of here, huh? We got to go, huh? We got to go. Love you, buddy.
Right. Take it easy, guys. I'll talk to you.
Came in frowning, looking for an apology. We send him out smiling every time. Pronunciation of the week time, as we welcome on our executive producer, Cody Merrow, who is on a roll with this segment, by the way. It's good to see you, Cody.
What's up? What just happened? What was that?
I don't know.
Who the fuck is the piper? Someone tell me. I gotta take this hoodie off because Sarah's gonna be coming for me. That's the piper.
Matt Serra, I know I probably said it on the program last week, is so pissed at this Ray Longo Fight Team sweatshirt. Even if you don't want to buy one, go to AnikFlorianPodcast.com and check out the design. We paid someone to design it, right? Longo looks great. I don't know. Is that Matt Serra who is depicted with the tattoos all over his body, Cody? Because he's super pissed about it.
Yeah, well, but I said change it up. Like that's a picture from the 70s of Sarah and Longo. So like if you know that's Sarah and Longo, like buy the damn hoodie, like rep the squad.
Yeah, right.
And then when people are like, who is that? You're like, oh, like that was Matt Serra before he got his tattoos removed. Like it's not that big a deal.
Right. We Matt Serra is on a rival podcast, We shouldn't even call them rivals, Fucking ridiculous. All right. So you're on a roll with this segment. This flyweight will face Cody Durden as part of the ESPN Plus prelims this weekend. Came into his April UFC debut having won 6 in a row. He was beaten that night, UFC 261, by Jeff Molina. Nickname Mongolian Murderer, Cody Merrow. Of whom am I speaking?
Well, nickname, I think you were upset at me for the Islam pronunciation, because I think when John sent this to me, I was like, one word, like Madonna, like Orichi Long.
Let's hear him say it.
My name is Aori Qileng, Mongolian murderer.
Can't flow.
My name is Aori Qileng, Mongolian murderer.
That's Aori Long, right?
Dude,
I'm giving you the point. Circle gets
no
a square.
one's pronouncing that right. No one.
Ken Flo, I wish that if you're audio only, you just missed Ken Flo's reaction. Like, how are we supposed to say that on broadcast exactly?
What?
I'm taking the point. I'm getting out of here, boys.
No, yeah, that's a good one. And again, as long as you are on the right syllable, pretty much we're going to give you credit. All right, today's main event challenge is presented by OddsShark.com, the most reliable source for sports betting information with the latest odds, insight, and analysis on everything UFC. Strongly encourage you to check out OddsShark.com/UFC to get all you need to know before placing bets on the upcoming fights this weekend. The OddsShark Fight Center is live. Great resource for fans and media alike. All the matchup information presented in a truly nice, ingestible way. They're also giving you the odds from various sports books as well, so you can see sort of where prices are at different sites. And their experts, Joe Osborne among them, are very entertaining. They've also been invested in mixed martial arts for a very long time. They've been capping MMA for a long time. So check it out in advance of UFC Fight Night, Vieta versus Tate. OddsShark.com/UFC. Don't forget the second S. All right, time to make some picks. Ketlin Vieta, Misha Tate. Let's get to the main event challenge.
It's the main event challenge. Anik.
The time is most definitely now.
Florian.
I finish fights. I'm going to do everything possible to win.
The main event challenge. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Glory MMA and Fitness, Lee's Summit, Missouri. If you don't know, they've got 17 fighters in the UFC, 2 more this weekend. James Krause, live and in color. Congratulations, brother. You got to be on cloud 9. I mean, you had a great Instagram post this morning. I know there are highs and lows, but it sounds like last night, a few hours ago, Dana White looking for a fight in the greater Denver area. You punched a couple of UFC tickets. So congratulations.
Thank you, man. I think it is like guys like Trey. Trey's been around. He's 15-4 now. And last night was our 20th fight together. I've been coaching his entire pro career. So it's pretty cool. He said he's kind of my it's kind of the last guy that I had in my junior class of the guys, the generation of that. He was my last one, really. So like, I don't think if you came to me today and you said, "Hey, who do you have to sign with the UFC that's ready?" I don't think I have anybody right now. Like everybody that I have is signed. So it's we obviously we have some kids coming up yet, but we need to add some more experience or whatever. But I think everybody that I have signed and ready to rock. So last night was a special night for me. It was really cool.
That's great. Well, We're happy for you, man. And it's funny, too, because I was actually thinking about asking Ray Longo on the show today. He gets sensitive, right? He's already sensitive to your presence on the show. But I was going to ask him, like, who is your most UFC-ready guy that's not in yet? But I didn't want to put him on the spot. But maybe Kenny will ask him because Kenny's a little softer. All right, so it's UFC Fight Night, Vieta versus Tate. We got 5 fights on the main card. We're going to pick all of them. You guys can go as long or short as you like. First up at bantamweight, Adrian Yanez, -265, Davey Grant +215. So Yanez has won 7 in a row, James, 3-0 in the UFC with as many knockouts and performance bonuses. Last win by TKO against Randy Costa, July 24th. He's -265 here. That's a pretty stiff price against a very tough Davey Grant. Which way are you going, James?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to talk about last week was a very swift reminder that I don't know fucking shit about this sport. So, man, I feel like this week, I feel this week about like I did last week, to be honest with you. Like there was nothing I loved. I said it on the show, I think. There was nothing that I loved last week. And God dang, I wish I would have stayed away from it, but I didn't. So when I look at, I feel like whoever makes the lines on these, it's almost like they're taunting me because they make it like I have somebody that I like in it, but they make it just expensive enough that I don't want to play it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And whoever makes them is really good. So I love Adrian Yanez. Honestly, I think he's incredible. He's one of the top prospects in the game, in my opinion. All that being said, dude, I also think Davey Grant is extremely underrated. He fought Chito Vera very well, and I think he's very good. I don't like this line. I'll end with this. I do like Adrian to win this fight, but I do not like the price that it's at. So
yeah,
I could see Davey, causing some problems. Obviously, Yanez did a great job overcoming the first round of Randy Costa last time. I know it's a different style of fight, but Davey is underrated, and Davey is very good. He's very skilled. He's very scrappy. He's got good wins. He just beat Pedro. You guys don't call him Pedro. Martinez, Jonathan Martinez. He's good. He's good. So I like Yanez, but I don't like the price. I'll be honest with you.
I agree. Like I watch Davey Grant, Kenny. He's as tough as they come. He has a lot of skills. And oftentimes I ask myself, like, do I want to walk to the window and bet against this guy? Right. He's got cardio, ran into the Chito Vera buzzsaw, obviously back in June. But a couple recent knockouts for dangerous Davey Grant, bonuses in 3 straight. Good matchmaking at 135 pounds. Ken Flo, Yanez Grant, which way you going?
I agree with a lot of what James said. I think Yanez has tremendous potential. We've seen his striking. He can strike at a very high level. I think he is one of the premier counter strikers in his division. And I think he's a guy that will be fighting for the belt for sure. So I think he's got a huge advantage on the feet, but Davey Grant is one of those guys who just won't go away. He is tough as nails. I also think he's kind of a problem on the ground as well. If he's able to hit those takedowns, he's got a pretty decent body lock takedown, decent wrestling up against the fence. That's where Davey Grant likes to be. Throws a lot of knees and elbows from that position in tight, uses his length very well. And if he gets you on the ground, you could be in trouble. He's dangerous both with his ground and pound and his submissions. However, I think Adrian will find a way to get back to his feet, stop those takedowns. And he's also a guy that tends to build as the fight goes on. He gets himself momentum, finds his rhythm like a lot of intelligent fighters, and then he just kind of owns you. I don't know if he's going to own Davey Grant necessarily, but I do like Yanez here to get the win.
You should put that breakdown on your demo reel, by the way. I thought that one was particularly good. All right, women's flyweight division. We got a couple instances on this fight card in which the lower-ranked fighter is favored. 9th-ranked Tyler Santos, -310. Joanne Calderwood, number 6 in the world, +245. Santos has won 3 in a row, James, 18-1 overall, the only pro loss in her UFC debut by split decision. And on the other side, JoJo just got married, which maybe is neither here nor there. She is
Take out the Calder. Take out the Calder.
That's right.
Just would.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I didn't think of that. That's good.
So what do you have for us on this one? Like anybody who's named James, I'm resisting the temptation to call you Jimmy because I'm afraid you're going to come through the screen because no one ever calls you Jimmy. But I'm all about like shorthand and casual and.
Listen, you call me whatever you want. You call me whatever you want. Son.
All right. Well, James,
you call me whatever you want, Joe. Whatever you want.
So what do you have for us on Calderwood +245 here against the 3-1 favorite Tyler Santos?
This fight is a lot like the Grant and Yanez fight to me. I mean, this is a fight that Santos should win, and in my opinion, it's probably the more complete fighter here. I think she has more ways to win. I think she can obviously strike with Calderwood, but like I think there's a big advantage in the wrestling and the ground department. But I think the price is. I think it's too expensive. I don't think it's priced accurately. I think. I don't see. It kind of pisses me off, to be honest with you. I don't see where they're coming up with these prices at. But they make it they put it just enough to where it's too much. You know what I mean? All that being said, I mean I feel like Santos has more ways to win. Santos is the better, more complete fighter in my opinion. But I don't think the line's on. I think it's off. I think it's overpriced, and I think Calderwood has a better shot of winning this than what Vegas is giving her.
Yeah, I agree. Kenny, again, I write down the odds before I go to DraftKings or oddshark.com, wherever I'm going. And I wrote minus 180 for Tyler Santos, and I was way off. She's minus 310 here.
See, I had it at 200, 2-ish.
Right, so right.
I mean, we were close, like even maybe a little bit, 225 maybe.
Right. So, Kenflo, Jojo Calderwood out of Scotland, dropped a split decision to Lauren Murphy at UFC 263 in June. Had she won that fight, she probably would have already fought Valentina Shevchenko for the title. What do you think about her here against Tyler Santos?
Yeah, listen, again, James does a great breakdown here. I think that the other thing for people to be aware of is just Santos and her athleticism. Everything she does, she's pretty sharp with. She's a little bit more powerful, a little faster. And I think she does everything a little bit better than JoJo, unfortunately. I think JoJo can pose some problems here and there. I think she's very tough. But I don't know. I think she needs to stay extremely disciplined and extremely sharp to win these rounds against Santos, who really, I think, is a handful here in this fight. So I like Santos here as well.
Is she as good a stepmom as JoJo, though, Kenflo?
No,
all right.
Obviously not. No.
I got to get my Tyler Santos card behind me before I get in trouble if she's a mother. I apologize.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. At bantamweight, boys, a pick'em fight right now. Ronnie Yaya minus 210 or minus 110, excuse me, against Kyung Ho Kong minus 110 as well. So this fight got pulled a few hours before it was to happen in July after Yaya tested positive for COVID-19. But how about Yaya on paper, right? Fought a Jungle Fight 2 back in the day. Pro debut was in 2002. Fought 7 times in the WEC. Now this is his 19th UFC fight. Never been finished in the UFC or the WEC. 8-2-1 spanning his last 11. Interesting matchup here for Yaya James against Kyung Ho Kong. How do you cap it?
I got to tell you, Ronnie Yaya has won me a lot of money. And what I love about him is and I don't feel like he gets enough credit for this. And it's when we talked about this, what I look for to place bets on, if we're talking about strictly betting perspective, I look for consistency, and I try to avoid guys with high danger factor. And Yaya is one of those guys that he typically, if you're playing Madden or whatever, or the EA Sports, he's good everywhere. He can hang everywhere with everyone. And then his danger factor is like, poof, you know what I mean? Like his grappling is elite level. And people, we use that a lot. Like he's got good grappling. He's got black belt. This guy's grappling is elite level, man. Like he can grapple with anybody in that division. He's super, super dangerous. He attacks legs well. He attacks arms well. He's got good chokes. I mean, he's a guy that can finish you anywhere on the ground, if that makes sense. Even standing,
I love it.
You know what I mean? Like he's just super, super dangerous. So anytime that I get a guy, like especially if Vegas is saying, hey, these two guys are even, but one of these guys has a way bigger danger factor, I typically like to lean that way.
Very interesting. Kenflo, Kyung Ho Kong. I know you remember this because you got that steel trap between the ears. UFC debut against Alex Caceres. UFC on Fuel TV. Silva versus Stan. Tokyo, Japan, 2013. We called that fight. Military service is part of the narrative on Kong. Didn't compete at all 2015, 16, 17. Mandatory military service in South Korea. Now he has momentum. He's won 3 in a row. Hasn't competed in a while. Last 2 wins by split decision. Kyung Ho Kong, Ronnie Yaya. Kenflo, who do you have?
Listen, I think he's dangerous on the feet. I do. I think he can be difficult to deal with. He could definitely win this fight, but I'm with James here. I think Yaya can really be a problem here if he's able to get this one to the ground. I think he's got a nice takedown game up against the fence for a jiu-jitsu guy. I think he's very tenacious when he gets in that high crotch position with the crackdown. He's very good from that position, has a series of front chokes that can cause problems for anyone out there, no matter what your experience level is in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He truly is elite, as James said, and I like Yaya here. It's tough because we haven't seen him as often as I would like, but let's go with Ronnie.
All right, co-main event, a big fight at 170 pounds. 14th ranked Sean Brady is the favorite, minus 150. Number 6, Michael Chiesa, plus 130. James, we'll need the round and the method of victory for the record. Tough fight to cap here between Brady, who is undefeated, and Michael Chiesa, who is making a quick turn. Who do you have?
I don't know if I could give you guys a pick on this one. I
don't. That's okay.
So
Come 2022, when the new scoring system is revealed, you may not have that choice. So you can take that choice now.
Okay. So when I look at this fight, these guys are very, very similar. And I think that Brady has an advantage on the feet. I think he is the better striker for sure. I do, however, think that Chiesa is a better grappler. And this is my problem is like, I can't remember who was Brady's last fight.
I can look that up for you.
Was it Jake
Matthews?
Jake Matthews. Sorry.
Yes. Matthews got him down at one point, and Brady did a really, really good job of using deep half guard to get up. He's got a really good – I'm a huge fan of both of these guys, by the way. Brady's got a really good deep half guard system that he uses to get back up, and I like it a lot. That's not happening against Michael Chiesa, though. Like, when Chiesa gets you down, very few people get up. Very few people get up. And I could see this fight playing out so many different ways, and my brain is really scrambled on how to pick this, right? If this fight turns into a grappling match, which Sean typically likes to grapple, I do, however, think if this turns into a grappling match that favors Chiesa. If he keeps it striking, I think it favors Brady. Here's what I'm going to say. To me, this fight is a pick'em fight. Like, this is a toss-up 50-50 fight. So from a perspective of who am I picking to win, I'm not going to give you guys that answer because, to be honest, I don't know. I really don't know. But from a betting perspective, if I have this fight at a pick'em, anytime there's a pick'em fight, you always want to lead towards the plus money, right? Yeah. And that plus money is on Chiesa. And that's guys, I very rarely am like, this is a true 50-50 fight, and I don't know where to lean. But I can tell you guys right now, that's where I'm at with it. I really don't know who's going to win this. Yeah. I have no idea. Literally one day, like when you sent me the email of the matchups, right? And I was like, okay, I'm leaning Chiesa, like just barely 10% leaning Chiesa. And then I looked at it again today, and I was like, I'm kind of leaning towards Brady today. And I'm like, why the hell did you switch? I can't tell you why. I have no idea why. So it's a really tough one for me.
James, yeah. I'm just gonna say this. If you don't pick, the fans are gonna be all over you, man. They're gonna be all over you.
I think for the record, he probably took Chiesa, but we'll
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
no, that's not true. That's not true. I listen. Well, okay, when we're talking about betting, you got to go Chiesa.
Okay.
You have to go Chiesa because he's plus money. You have to.
Right,
so if you guys are putting a gun in my head saying I have to pick who am I going to bet on, the answer is Chiesa. That doesn't mean I'm thinking that he's going to win the fight, though. I truly think this is a coin flip fight. I really do.
Right.
And I mean, if you're gun in my head, you got to go plus money here because it's a 50-50 fight.
So we've actually solicited opinions from the listeners as to how to structure the main event challenge. If you guys should just get money and can spend it so you would have the opportunity to avoid picking a fight like this. So AnikFlorianPodcast on social media, if AnikFlorianPod actually, if you have opinions on that. But yeah, I mean, that's the way you'd approach a handicap, right? If it's a pick 'em fight, you're getting 40 cents of value essentially on Michael Chiesa. Ken Flo, Sean Brady is an interesting case here, and a lot of people are excited to see him get this step up in competition. 14-0 overall, 4-0 in the UFC. Submitted Jake Matthews last time out. That was UFC 259 in March. Was booked against Kevin Lee in both July and August. Foot infection forced him out of that second meeting, and now he gets the biggest matchup of his career, at least on paper. Sean Brady, Michael Chiesa, Ken Flo. You know the drill. Who do you have?
Listen, James is correct in that this is the trickiest fight on the card for me. This is a really difficult one to pick. I think that Chiesa can pose a lot of problems for Sean. I think Sean's good on the ground. I do. We're going to find out how good he is, I think, this weekend. I think Chiesa, if he's able to slow the game down, if he's able to get his underhooks, pin those shoulders, Sean Brady may find that he's in for a very long night. However, if Sean is able to get to his positions, keep it moving, be successful in the transition, then, Brady can make Chiesa uncomfortable, could make him tired, keep it on the feet, beat up his legs a little bit. I think that's what Sean needs to do here, is try to beat up those legs from Chiesa, because he is going against a rangier fighter in Mike. Now, Chiesa might not be the best striker in the world, but he's not horrible, and he can be awkward and difficult to deal with on the feet. So I think Brady's best bet is try to beat up those legs, slow down Chiesa, and win those transitions. I think Brady, for me, as far as from what I've seen on the ground, is most dangerous when he gets that top position. How much will we see him in that top position? I don't know. I don't see him necessarily taking Chiesa down consistently. Maybe there's a transition or a counter that he hits, but I don't know. I think that we're going to find a lot out about Brady. We just haven't seen as much from him as we have from Chiesa, of course. Chiesa, sometimes himself can be inconsistent and how he goes out there and executes his game plan. So this is a very difficult one to pick. I will go with Brady here. But again, this is a tight one, but let's go with Sean. Let's go with Sean by decision.
I hope we get
I don't see this fight getting finished.
Yeah.
All right. Main event, women's bantamweight division. Number 8, Miesha Tate, -115. 7th ranked, Ketlin Vieira, -105, slightly to the underdog. So Tate returned from her 4+ year retirement, as you guys know, with much fanfare. That was back in July. Stopped Marion Renault. Was supposed to fight Vieira in October. Miesha got COVID-19. Little delay. She's healthy now and could be a win or two away from a title shot. Essentially a pick'em fight, James Krause. I thought Miesha would maybe be a little bit more of a favorite. How do you think she fares against Ketlin Vieira?
I want to lean Miesha on this one. Ketlin in the past has shown she's had some difficulty dealing with the takedowns, especially on the fence. And I mean, that just seems to be right up Miesha's alley. You know what I mean? I think these girls are very even in skill, but I think stylistically Miesha matches up very well with her. And I think she is the better grappler on top. It's going to be on if Miesha gets on top. I don't see either one of these girls subbing the other. But I think what could happen is Miesha gets on top, wears Vieira down a little bit, and then cruises to a decision. But this is 5 rounds. I could see a submission in there somewhere. I don't see a TKO or anything. My guess would be a decision on either side of this. But I do feel like that Miesha is going to wear on the takedowns. And especially on the fence, like I said, Vieira's just shown in the past that she's had some difficulty with dealing with that. So I like Miesha here. I will say this. The time off, everybody's like, oh, she came back, fought Marion, did really well. That's not what we're dealing with here, though. Stylistically, Miesha is like a nightmare matchup for Marion. Marion's comfortable being on her back. Her wrestling is not up to par. Vieira is going to be a little bit tougher of a test. And I got to be honest, in my opinion, I kind of just nixed that fight because I think Miesha is such a good matchup for her. I still want to see about the time off. I think we could see that come to play here. Now, if she beats Vieira, I think I'm convinced. I'm ready to rock with her. I'm going to lean Miesha, though. I think she's just a tough stylistic matchup.
Ketlin Vieira missed weight for her last fight, a unanimous decision loss to Yana Kunitskaya in February. Your thoughts on the main event coming up Saturday night at the old UFC Apex there?
I think Vieira has some potential. I think she's pretty well-rounded, but I think Miesha's a very tough matchup for her. I think Miesha is going to be the better grappler here, a better wrestler anyway, which I think it will come down to that. I think it's going to come down to the wrestling. I think it's going to come down to the experience factor, where Miesha, of course, has her in that department. She's been in a lot of big fights. I don't think we saw, a Miesha that was like, came with all these new skills or anything like that. Given the layoff, I was very impressed, mostly with her mental attitude heading into the fight and how focused and how present she was during the fight. And she did all the right things that she needed to do to win that fight. And that said, I have to assume we're going to continue to see that, solid mental approach from Miesha. And I think we're going to see even more of her skills in this fight. So I like her here. I didn't love the Aldana fight for Ketlin Vieira. I think she definitely exposed some weaknesses there. I think the Yana Kunitskaya fight, I think we saw some more from Vieira that, brought her stock down just a little bit. And I think Misha's the one, who's going to take advantage of those weaknesses that we saw in those fights. So I like Misha here. I'm not sure we'll see a finish here either, but I do like Misha here. Let's go with by decision.
All right, Misha Tate by decision is the pick for Ken Flo. James, I don't even want to ask if your wheel's up somewhere this weekend in a couple days.
No, I'm good.
Hey.
What's crazy is I was home for 3 minutes. I landed, got straight into my car, drove here. I was home for 3 minutes before I put these headphones on and got on.
This guy,
on.
What a guy. Well, next time we'll give you an extra 10 minutes, but we thank you. We appreciate you on social media. You can find more from this handsome man at the James Krause. Congrats on a big weekend, buddy. And we're off next Monday, but we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Awesome,
there he
man.
is. Happy Thanksgiving, James Krause. Focus, presence, right? You talk about these things, and I mentioned those words with Colby Covington in the Kamaru Usman fight, right? After round 2. Like, if you're not totally present in that moment and hell-bent on winning a world championship, maybe 1 ounce of you's looking for a way out. And say what you want about Colby Covington. Some have been critical, Henry Cejudo and others, that he wasn't really there to win and didn't get aggressive enough, but he's certainly not looking for a way out.
No, not at all, man. And that's so important. Again, those are the kind of things that come with big fight experience, which is huge in this sport, and I think often overlooked.
Yeah. All right, AnikFlorianPodcast.com for your merchandise needs. If you like my Ray Longo Minute t-shirt, I mean, we'd prefer you buy the stuff that doesn't say Longo, but you got to check out Matt Serra on the Ray Longo Fight Team sweatshirt. Ally Quinta has made 7 purchases already. You can't get enough. But we appreciate every last one of you for checking in. Ken Flo, what's your next obligation? You going back to the mountains this weekend to do recreational drugs?
No, I'm let's see, I'm chilling this week, man. We got some work going on here at the house. Got the kids are running all over the place.
I saw. Was that your daughter who walked in during the podcast?
Yeah.
Next time, put her on camera.
Oh man,
we need.
She would love that. She would love that. Yeah.
Misha Tate, by the way, was plus 115 or so at open against Marion Renault and closed closer to minus 190. So food for thought. I can almost guarantee you if you're betting on Misha Tate, you want to get in now as opposed to later in the week. All right, thanks to Longo, however curmudgeonly. Thanks to James Krause for joining us for the Main Event Challenge. Our executive producer is Cody Merrow. Thank you all for listening, for watching. I guess we're supposed to tell you to hit that subscribe button and tell your friends. It's not our style, but thank you in advance for getting the word out, and we will talk to you in 2 weeks. Happy Thanksgiving. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. See you later.